and this is Tobago Updates. My name is Adeleka Joe. Is the conversation with the Chief THA Elections 2025, the Tobago Civil Net. So just a little Civil Net. Tobago Civil Net is a registered, non-partisan, non-government organization which aims to promote strengthening and building participation in decision-making through all levels of and structures, facilitate public discussion or other programs to impart knowledge, promote collaboration, understanding, and harmony among persons and organizations in charity work in Tobago for the purpose of strengthening the act of civil society. And this program will be brought to you live by Tobago Updates. Just a little bit about them. It is a comprehensive news and information platform to all things Tobago. Tobago Updates delivers timely updates and engaging features covering a wide range of topics, including business, tourism, culture, and sports. So as we are getting up to our discussion tonight, our conversation with Chief, I would like to introduce you all to our lovely. So Mrs. Rhea Richardson is a media professional in Tobago, known primarily as a host in Tobago Channel 5 on the Rise and Shine morning program. She is a visible personality who has hosted various Tobago Updates flagship show morning program, recently Behind the Surface series, where she interviewed political figures from the Chief Secretary and various secretaries, assistant secretaries, and local councillors. Rhea is the wife of Oswald George for over 30 years, the mother of their 3 biological children. Serves our secular and church communities in many facets, assisting in youth, women, and marriages. Rhea, together with her, are the owners of a family-owned and operated business, AJ and General Stores. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome our moderator, Rhea Richardson George.
Thank you. And to all those now tuning in, conversation with 2 of the candidates for Chief Secretary of the Assembly, which the Tobago electorate will decide in the THA on January 12, 2026. The Tobago Civil Net is a non-partisan group of Tobago civil organizations and concerned citizens, all combining for the purpose of having collective input on Tobago's development. Neither the questions nor the responses are those of CivilNet, its supporters. Please note, all 3 leaders contesting 8+ districts were invited to conversation. Dr. Denise Sawyerfat Anga and Sil Dennis. Please introduce to that to begin to please introduce yourself to that to begin that is not in your party and are not here with you, leaving a lasting impression on them. Dr. Denise Sawyerfat Angus, you may go.
So, I am Denise Sawyerfat Angus, and I am the candidate for the Scarborough-Mount Grace electoral district. I'm also the political leader of the Innovative Democratic Alliance. And in the Tobago House of Assembly election for 2026, I am a mother of 3, grandmother of 1, husband, and also the fact that I believe that we have to create a better future for our children. You know, the reason why I'm doing this is for my children, definitely not for myself. The children of Tobago, and by extension Trinidad and Tobago, because I believe whatever we do in this island of Tobago is certainly something that can be taken and expanded into Trinidad and Tobago, as long as it contributes to the well-being of our people. And so I look forward to having you vote for not just me, but all of our candidates in the upcoming THA elections. We have 11 candidates across the island, and as I fondly say, we believe in democracy, so we have left 4 for the opposition.
Thank you. Mr. Dennis.
Very much. Good evening, Tobago. It's a pleasure to be here for this exercise this evening. And let me say good evening to my opponent as well, a lady that was once my colleague in the PNM and in the THA as well. She was Secretary of Community Development and Culture when I served there as Assistant Secretary. So, I am Ansel Dennis, 39 years of age in a few days' time on January the 14th. I'm the proud leader of the People's National Movement in Tobago. I've been engaged in active politics since 2012, where I entered this arena at the very tender age of 25. I had the opportunity to learn and grow and serve, and I count it a privilege to be able to serve the people of Tobago at this level, at what I consider to be the highest level of public service on the island of Tobago. So it is a pleasure to be here, and I want to give the people of Tobago the assurance that I am qualified, I am experienced, I have a proven track record of delivery and service to the people of Tobago, and I have what it takes to lead the next DHA administration and to lead this island into a brighter future of prosperity and wealth for the people of Tobago.
Thank you, Mr. Dennis. And just some information for us. This evening's conversation, and it is a conversation, to 4 categories: autonomy and governance, development and sustainability, infrastructure and civic services, and culture, identity, and civic engagement. At the end of which, both candidates will be able to leave their final words, but that's later on in the program. So we're going to get right on into things. Understanding here that because it's a discussion or conversation, we want to allow our candidates to have at least 4 responses per person. Self-determination has been talking autonomy for decades. What concrete plan and by when will Tobagonian progress? We start with you, Dr. Ang.
You know, we keep talking about autonomy, and I don't think we realize that autonomy is about good governance. Okay? If we cannot practice good governance where we are right now, we have to be mindful of what we request when we say autonomy, because autonomy is really the liberation of people to pursue what they consider to be their rights within a framework of, you know, the Twin Island Republic. And to some extent, that is not what we are experiencing. But autonomy is also about our communities being able to pursue their role, their purpose, and their destiny within the framework of Tobago. And so therefore, when we talk about autonomy, we cannot just talk about more money and legislation. We have to talk about the way we're going to empower communities, the way we're going to ensure that the citizens of this island have a voice within the parliament, being able to have, you know, their voices being heard. We saw the recent experience with the war that has happened, the crisis in Venezuela, where the people did not have any way of having a voice into the parliament, given what has been going on. Nothing was taken there. And so we need a larger representative body inside of the parliament, so that it is not just the executive that overpowers everything and majority takes all, but that you have a balance and you have enough representatives in there to oversight the executive body. And by extension, the same thing must happen to Tobago. Similarly, we should have an elected Senate that is large enough to give Tobago a true space and representation on that body, such that if there is something that really affecting Tobago or should not happen in Tobago, that representative group has an option of stopping that law or whatever it is from going forward. And so when we talk about autonomy and its rollout, we don't agree with the last bill that was sent. We, for 2 years now, we've been requesting a full exercise of reaching the people again, determine how do we go forward. Given all that we've seen in the environment so far, we need to determine new way forward and not just the old bills that have been there.
Thank you. Mr. Dennis.
Well, firstly, I don't agree more bureaucracy. I think the process is quite simple and we tend to complicate it unnecessarily so. When I'm elected Chief Secretary, I will simply mobilize the people of Tobago behind support for the 2 bills that went to Parliament most recently. Those 2 bills will give Tobago far greater authority administratively and legally to take care of the people of Tobago. Of course, those bills propose a minimum 6.8% of the national budget. I know that Tobago could do with some more money to take care of our development. But most importantly, on January the 12th, we will elect 15 assemblymen and we will dress up like this and we will go and get sworn in and go to the THA and we will have 0 powers to make laws without the intervention of the government. That has to change immediately. It does not make sense. The people that we elect in Tobago should have the powers to make laws for the good governance and order of this island of Tobago. And when I'm elected Chief Secretary, I intend to apply the necessary pressure on the Parliament, on the central government, support of the people of Tobago, who I will have the authority to speak for. There's no need for further consultations at this point. Let's get on with it. And of course, when we achieve the passage of these bills, which will give us far greater powers, we can continue to argue about independence and secession and confederation and federations and all the other options that are in these currently. So those discussions will continue, but need to get on with the passage of the 2 bills that went to Parliament, which came about as a result of several years of consultations.
Okay, thank you. National Council. Should Tobago have a seat at the National Security? If yes, outline the steps you take. If explain why.
So I thought we had a moment to rebut, just to let you know that the last statement,
okay,
that the bill is just more of an autocratic nature that we will go forward with, that has been serving us well throughout the years, and that has to change. So we're talking about the National Security Council, and it has been, again, about 2 years ago that the IDA would have written to the Chief Secretary, to the then Prime Minister, and many others, to advise them that Tobago needed a seat on the National Security Council because of all of the transnational crime that we had going on. The fact that, even now, with the change in environment that we have with the crisis and being drawn into this whole debacle with the radar, and being told that we didn't have a say. And I think it is time that Tobago has a seat on the National Security Council dealing with the Tobago agenda. At the end of the day, we are Trinidad and Tobago, not Trinidad and Port of Spain or Trinidad and Chaguanas. We are Trinidad and Tobago. And if we are to walk side by side, then I don't see why we should not have a seat at the National Security Council. And as Chief Secretary, that is something that we will go after strongly. And that is to ensure, end of the day, that we have some responsibility to see about ourselves, and that the security apparatus was naturally into the Tobago space along with the funding to be able to do it. The last committee that the Chief Secretary put together was an ad hoc committee. I consider it to be illegal because we're not responsible for security on the island according to the 6th rule, and therefore there must have been a memorandum of understanding signed with the government or seated at or representatives seated at the National Security Council in order to legitimize that committee. And it's unfortunately he is not here today to answer for himself that he did not take the opportunity to be here and to have conversations with people at this time. And you know, the last 4 years he attended. I guess he had nothing to lose. Attended. Mr. Dennis didn't attend. However, this year, and he is not here. We have to do better than that. We have to make ourselves accountable to the people, and LevelNet for again hosting this program.
So, Mr. Dennis.
All right, before I answer that, let me just, I did not attend the last time. I was not the political leader of any party, and therefore I can't recall being invited to attend. But it's a no-brainer that Tobago should have a seat at the National Security Council. So I support that 100%, and it is something that we will definitely pursue when I'm elected as Chief Secretary. But apart from national security, I want to say as well that there is something called Tobago security. And while I like to say that we have no responsibility for national security, we actually have responsibility in the THA, I believe, for our own security in our space. Because of course, security is more than just policing. It's community development, it's youth, it's sports, it's social intervention, social services, it's tourism and how we protect our island and so on. So I want to say as well that when I'm elected Chief Secretary, we will establish, perhaps for the first time, a division led by a secretary with responsibility for legal affairs, Tobago security and public safety, to take care of our security needs and responsibilities on the island of Tobago.
Thank you, Mr. Ansel Dennis. Corruption allegations have haunted every THA. What specific mechanism will you introduce to restore in the executive? Sorry about Angus.
It's called lead by example. The thing is that, you know, as a leader, being in the assembly before, being as a presiding officer and the Secretary of Community Development and Culture, that I have not been caught up in any corruption scandal or been accused of any. And so it is by example. But of course, providing the proper oversight, which we are going to begin doing by creating. We don't have any sort of body right now in the legislature, except, you know, you have your minority council, but that is not enough. And we will be creating a legislative commission that would provide necessary oversight, where we would be electing or getting recommendations across the 15 electoral districts for persons to provide the necessary oversight that we need of the executive, to question different projects, to ensure that, you know, within the margins that that will be spent, because at the end of the day, it is about monitoring, ensuring that we do meet the targets, and especially in these times, these challenging times coming, to ensure that the monies are appropriately spent and that it's not being squandered and wasted as we have seen over 25 years.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dennis.
Well, several things that when elected Terry, my administration will put in place, and the people of Tobago to take a read and carefully peruse the big deal, which we were big, bold, red, because within there, in our intent to establish a secretarial of conduct, and that is something that will mirror ministerial code in other jurisdictions such as the United Kingdom, where there are clear guidelines and policies that will determine how secretaries, politicians within the Tobago House of Assembly will operate. Currently it does not exist, and we will introduce it. And secretaries, including myself as Chief Secretary, our next PNM Tobago House of Assembly administration, be held to very high standards where ethics and morality in public affairs is concerned. In addition to that, we will ensure that we get the Public Accounts Committee again. It has not worked for the last 4 years. Based on my information, there were concerted effort by those in this current THE administration to the minority leader who is the chair of the Public Account Committee. So I'm not aware that that committee ever met. It is a committee that is charged with the responsibility for looking how public funds is spent, and into not just politicians but also the public servants, really accounting to the nature and the people of Tobago by extension. And it's unfortunate Secretary has decided to absent himself from this very important conversation, and therefore we would have posed these questions to him on the function or lack thereof of the public activity for the last 4 years.
Thank
I would
you.
like to add
Please.
to that the Code of Ethics was something DP signed also. I still remember them standing up, them signing to it in public, and we see that it hasn't. I think we need something more than a Code of Ethics to ensure those monies are being spent and that there's no wastage going forward during these challenging times.
Yeah. If I may clarify, because I'm not just talking about a code of ethics or that charade that the DP had back then, where obviously there was no real intent to hold anybody accountable under this administration. I'm talking about a secretarial code that will go before the THE legislature and be approved by the THE legislature, and will therefore become THE policy and something that secretaries must abide by.
Thank you. Thank you. The THA Act and Horseshoe Chamber will make census, not party warfare. How will you drive that spirit in practice? Doctor?
It definitely needs to be revived. And it is revived because it will be revived because I have shown collaboration all throughout my years of work and experience. In fact, just about a month ago, I called on all political parties go and have us as one unit, as a collective voice, a radar issue in Tobago. And so I would have called them, took off my political hat, asked them to take off theirs, called on them for us to go out and represent the people of Tobago rather than just representing our parties as in this. So I always say how you campaign is how you shall lead. Therefore, starting out with that spirit of collaboration. It's something I always believe in pursuing. I remember as presiding, I had the opportunity to call on both sides to see if they would, come to some reason in terms of collaborating. I remember that that they had, that we had to get both sides to create, to say you can't just ask the opposition or the minority, because Watson Duke, to speak, and the majority would speak afterwards. You have an alternating. That budget ended, in a out. But at the end of the day, it's all, you have to recognize collaboration is key to moving Tobago forward, and not always just wear the party hats and be adversarial because you're on opposite sides.
Mr. Dennis?
Well, you're quite correct. That is what the horseshoe should represent. But I am very cognizant of our political culture, which is party politics. And I know a lot of Tobagonians have a desire that we all should come together and sing Kumbaya. And yes, at times we can sing Kumbaya and agree on many issues, but on other occasions there will be differences. For me, it's really about agreeing to disagree, or disagreeing respectfully. I think what we have had over the last 4 years especially is really a kind of politics that has descended into heat and division, and that is something that, as Chief Secretary when elected, that I intend to change. We can disagree with each other, but I believe we can love each other at the same time. I tend to see politics like a boxing ring. You go in that ring from time to time, whether it's during political season or when you're in the house debating, and you trash it out, you pong on each other, not through personal insults, but you deal with the public recall, the performance or lack thereof of your opponents. You deal with issues, the different perspectives, you treat with that. And we should be able to, after all of that, go and have a drink and talk to each other normally. Because two boxers in the ring will try to knock each other out, but when they get out of that ring, they all can be friends again and live peacefully among each other. And I think that is how our politics be. We can disagree vociferously at that, but we are all Tobagonians, whether blue or red.
So much, Mr. Dennis, Dr. Angus. This is Conversations with the Chief. We will take a time when we come back. We continue our conversations. Stay tuned.
To vote is simple. The Elections and Boundaries Commission advises that before Election Day, you should receive your poll card in the mail. Open it to find the address of your polling station. Keep the poll card safe and take it with you on Election Day. If you did not receive your poll card in the mail, you can still vote. A poll card will be prepared for you at your polling station. You can also visit the EBC's website at www.ebctt.com or call the hotline at 785-8206 or 785-8211 to find your polling station. On Election Day, you should check the list posted outside your polling station for your name and number. Where there are several polling stations on the same compound, an information officer will direct you to your polling station. Polling agents who act on behalf of candidates are there to witness the process. If your name is on the list of electors and you have a valid ID card, you join the green line. All other persons, including physically incapacitated, blind or visually impaired persons, should join the red line. You are required to sign your poll card in front of the poll clerk. The deputy presiding officer examines your hands and fingers. If there is no evidence of electoral ink stains, you're issued a ballot paper. The deputy presiding officer also demonstrates how to mark and fold a ballot paper using the guidance set and how to vote with the X stamp. The ballot paper is folded to display the initials of the deputy presiding officer and the polling station number. A blind, visually impaired or physically incapacitated person is allowed to vote with the assistance of a companion. In the privacy of the voting booth, you vote by placing an X at the right of your candidate's cell. If you make a mark other than an X, your ballot will be rejected and not counted. Fold your ballot paper as you were previously shown by the deputy presiding officer and proceed to the officer in charge of the ballot box. Display your folded ballot paper with the initials of the deputy presiding officer and station number. You will then be required to dip your finger in the electoral ink before you are allowed to place your ballot paper in the ballot box. If you refuse to dip your finger in the electoral ink, you will not be allowed to vote. When you've finished with this process, wipe off the excess ink. Any problem you encounter in the polling station should be brought to the attention of the presiding officer. To vote is your right. Exercise it. A message from the Election Boundaries Commission, your partners in democracy.
Welcome to Tobago Glass Supplies Limited, where innovation meets excellence and service reigns supreme. Our commitment is simple: to provide high-quality, innovative aluminum, vinyl, and glass solutions for both commercial and residential spaces. At DIGICEL, we don't just meet needs, we meet expectations. Our range includes the finest aluminum cladding options, setting new standards in durability and style. Driven by our passion to elevate, we aim to be the leading supplier in the Caribbean market while retaining our identity as a family-owned business. Because at Tobago Glass Supplies Limited, it's not just about products, it's about relationships, it's about you. Quality service. That's Tobago Glass Supplies Limited.
It's a different type of thing down there. And we party till we drop down there. With a lot of pretty girls down there. Down in Tobago.
Viewers, back tonight to Conversations with the Chief. All those now tuning in, this is a conversation with two of the candidates for Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, which the Tobago electorate will decide in the THA election come January 12, 2026. Gentle reminder, the Tobago CivilNet is a non-partisan group of Tobago civil society organizations and concerned citizens all forces for the purpose of having collective input on Tobago's development. Neither the questions nor the responses are those of SET nor its supporters. All three political party leaders contesting 8+ districts were invited to this conversation. Dr. Denise Sawyer for Angus and Mr. Ansel Dennis. We'd like to move on to economic development and sustainability. With limited allocations from SET, what new revenue streams will you create for Tobago? Yes.
Well, first of all, we have to begin at the challenges we have in economic development. Current system that we have facing as of governance allow us fully to extend and explode into the economic resilience that we could have. And therefore, the idea's thrust is to be able to empower communities by setting up what we call asset owning enterprise councils. in communities, and they will be responsible after being defined with their boundaries. They will be responsible for setting up industries in their communities that would generate income. That way you have ownership. People own what they are doing and they're able to generate it easily. Some of the ideas communities have come up with so far is to be able to plant cucumbers and to have a manufacturing place of sorts that actually does pickles and relish, and they could use that for export. So communities are coming up with their own ideas of how to drive their own development by developing industries, by being able to prioritize what they're doing. The second part of that is tourism. Our tourism product of sand, sun, and sea is no longer works, and therefore we have to go to an industrialized tourism product. What that means is have value-added products like our education for export, medical tourism, and everything associated with that, and be able to use that as the pillar for our tourism backbone. That way, attracting persons of who can actually afford more to be at the hotels. The hoteliers keep complaining about the fact that they have to take persons who cannot really afford to be in the hotel. And so we see these professional services being offered and able to attract persons who can afford the hotels, and also it will benefit those who are the guest houses and the Airbnbs, so everyone can benefit from that, and that contributes to a stronger economic resilience.
And so, Dennis?
Revenues can be seen from two standpoints. One, revenue THA. Of course, the THA mainly relies on a subvention from the central government. Under the next MTHA administration, we will be pursuing a lot of public-private partnerships, a lot of investment, foreign investment, and local investment into the Tobago economy and onto this island of Tobago. When you look at the big deal, our big red deal for Tobago, you'll recognize that a number of the projects there, major projects in tourism, agriculture, clean renewable energy, and so on, goes beyond what the THA will normally spend on a yearly basis for development, which normally does not surpass $500 million. And therefore, it requires public-private partnership. Revenue in terms of the island as a whole to boost our economy and boost GDP on the island, we will place tremendous emphasis, and we ensure that we pursue the development and the further upliftment of Tobago's private sector. Our plan includes the creation of 7,000 jobs, and only 1,000 of those jobs will come from the Tobago House of Assembly. The other 6,000 must be generated by the private sector. It's through the development of the private sector that we can create those jobs. When people work and they earn money, they will spend money, the money will circulate in the economy. We will have more babies because people can afford it. The economy will be booming. Movie town will not close down. The construction sector will not come to a halt. Other businesses will not close. And economic development is extremely important. And I think that is the yardstick by which administrations should be judged. And if we judge this current administration by that yardstick, they have failed. And the PNM has a plan to transform this economy.
I just want to add,
Please go ahead.
These gentlemen in our midst continue to talk about money as the reason that women should have, and I think it's a bit insensitive. I've been wanting to say insensitive because oftentimes it's not always a much why women cannot have children and do not have children. I think they need to be more sensitive than that, and kind of do away with the jokes of getting monies so they could go and make more babies. They need to really offer the fact that they would ensure women who cannot have, that they will make a way for them to go the requisite medical care so that they too can conceive.
Our research has shown that the number one for the low birth rate, not only here, but many countries suffering from the same, is really economic factors. And that is what we are basing our policies. And yes, I take the point that for some persons, is about fertility issues, not just with the women, but with the men. And at this point in time, I want to encourage them to take care of themselves, right? But the non-factor is really economic, and that is what our research.
Okay. First 100 days. Name 3 deliverables you will achieve in your first 100 days as Chief Secretary.
That is to define the boundaries for communities to be able to move that motion such that we can begin that exercise going. The second is to be able to delineate what are the responsibilities that are handed over to communities to begin their work. The third is to begin the retooling and the restructuring of our what we call the 10 days on, 10 off, and to take persons who are not working to be able to start retooling exercise, because at the end of the day, one of our main barriers to economic development is the level of under-education or education poverty that we're having right now. Education poverty is at, it started at about 62% when the PNM left it, and it means 62 out of 100 students are failing out of school. It's now, at the end of 4 years, at 68. We cannot drive an economy on that, and therefore that is one of the first things that we're going to start doing, retooling and certifying persons such that they could earn better wages and they can contribute to driving our development. That retooling, people talk about just trade, retooling persons and certifying them in trade, but there are also other areas like the creative sector that we can recertify them into, and really about geared to ensuring that people could get better wages and they're not stuck in a weird situation where they are 10 on, 10 off, could hardly put food on the table, and just become a voter bank at the end of the day. So in addition to training for better jobs, we are also training them for the possibility of ownership of their own businesses.
First 100 days under Ansel Dennis as the next Chief Secretary under the PNM administration, we will immediately review the contract employment policy to move the minimum standard contractual period from 3 years upwards to 5 years. We also take steps to prevent political victimization as part of that policy by removing the power of the renewal of contracts from the office of the Secretary and keep it solely in the hands of the administrator, who is the most senior public servant in any division. We will, within the first 100 days, restart all those projects that has been languishing across Tobago: the Backlit Indoor Sporting Complex, the Goodwood Pavilion, the Goldsboro Agro Processing Facility, the Charlottesville Community Center. We will restart those projects within the first 100 days. We will also restart the farmland development program to ensure that our farmers have access to land within the first 100 days. And you said 3, but I'll give a 4th one. We will also ensure that we review the programs available in the Division of Settlements to move the limit for home improvement support from 15,000 up to 100,000 to establish the Build on Your Land program, and do a lot more in the Division of Housing and across several other divisions. There are a lot of things that can be done in short order, and we will ensure that we do those things first and foremost.
I do have concerns with that thrust in terms of just going after the buildings again, just looking at the infrastructure. And we need to be cognizant of the fact that the geopolitical arena that we are in now may not lend itself to a certain amount of predictability in terms of our, the things that we have available to us. We are in an economics, and we have to be, cognizant of that fact when we start putting all the resources in these big buildings all over again. One of the other things that we're going to add is to deal with our food security by getting rid of that snail program, that Africa pest, once and for all, because it is not being done by the current administration, and it is truly beginning to affect our food security on the island.
Thank you. Mr. Dennis?
No, I thought about rebutting, but I think I was very clear. Note, however, that it is better, financially otherwise, to restart those projects rather than the asset just there languishing and rotting out. That will continue to be a drain on the public purse. It is we have material there that is just away. And let me see as well that those facilities we started in 2020 and 2021 are important to Tobago's development. The indoor sporting complex, that will impact on people. It's not just a piece structure. It will impact on our sportsmen and women, especially people. The agro-processing facility, that's about expanding their sector, adding value to agricultural produce, and of course, that will also contribute to the kind of economic development we spoke about before. The people of Charlottesville, I'm surprised they have not as yet, waiting on their community center for so many. It's been 4 years. It's been more than that, actually. And I am saying to them that notwithstanding economic challenges, we believe we have resources available, or we will have the resources available to reach those projects.
And we feel that the projects ought to belong to the communities, which is where we are setting up the community, so they can be in charge of doing projects. This recent stadium that was, into that mini stadium or whatever it is that was built in back. And the community is quite upset because they said, according what they wanted, which was an indoor facility, what they got was near, what they wanted. And therefore, we feel time for communities to be the forefront of their own development, having the resource. We're giving each community $25 million. And with that, and that is the minimum. And so we will partner with the THA so that they will be the ones hiring their contractors, communities to do the work, and also the young people in the community work when they take over dealing with those projects. So that is what we will be doing to ensure the economic development, the pieces of the pie don't get at the top, but it also is at the ground. And once they get a piece of that pie, they learn how to make more at their level.
Thank you. What resilience measures will you put in place to protect you from climate change impacts? Let's start this time around with Mr. Dennis.
Sure, of course, Tobago is susceptible, certain parts of Tobago, to landslides. Instead of waiting slides to happen and then attempting to build retaining walls, we have ways of stabilizing slopes across Tobago. Slides even happen. Coastal rehabilitation, of course, is something we will pursue. Planting a lot of trees and grove areas is something else that we will pursue. And there's quite a new policy that you will find in our Big the People of Tobago, which is the establishment of a public homes scheme. we recognize that across Tobago, a number of persons either cannot afford to insure their, or because of the situation of a lack of country approval, so what they built, or unclear title, they cannot get insurance through the traditional home insurance companies. And therefore, we will establish that public scheme, be extremely affordable, through the Tobago House of Assembly in partnership with a special company that will be established, so that in the event of flooding, in the event of even fires and so on, in the event of landslides, in the of hurricanes, God forbid, that Tobagonians can benefit from immediate funding made to rebuild or to repair homes in the natural disasters happening here on the island. So that is something that we are very passionate about. We believe that it impact on the lives of a number of Tobagonians who times they suffer these unfortunate circumstances and to be placed elsewhere. THA pays their rent for 3 months. After that, they are left hanging in the air without no way of rebuilding.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Dr. Angus.
Okay. You know, climate change has also to do with the carbon footprint that we continue to leave. And so we are going to look at it from that perspective also, where we are going to work towards decreasing the carbon footprint on the ground in Tobago that is left by the type of tourism that just short stay, weekend stay. And we will begin to look longer stay tourism models. I mentioned the export tourism, the education export, education tourism, medical tourism, and these areas that encourage long-stay tourism and decreases carbon footprint. Additionally, the Tobago International University that we will have, we want to have a faculty that studies soil types and also, marine soil erosion, such that we are not just dealing with something, in the short term, but we also have long-term solutions being innovated and developed right there as part of that university. And therefore, we can benefit from that, and our students should be able to go. But it also increases in tourism from an international perspective, where students can now travel from internationally. I mean, persons are now having a problem getting visas. They can come to Tobago for international studies and be able to get the benefits of all that research.
Thank you. Thank you. A battlefield-ready radar was in consultation. As Chief Secretary, how would you have handled this differently? Dr. Anga.
Well, as Chief Secretary, the first order of business is if the Prime Minister, well, first of all, I don't know how a sitting Chief Secretary does not know that a piece of equipment is being installed that large in Tobago and would not have gotten a call. And so at the time, immediately I would call the Prime Minister to find out what is going on, and then be very, very, expressive about my concerns that he would have disrespected Tobago, and even being able to stop the project at that time going forward. Because in the early stages, we had an opportunity to do something, but nothing was done. It was just accepted. In fact, when he came out 2 days later, after he said he found out on Facebook, he actually complimented the work that the Prime Minister was doing and never once demanded an apology for the disrespect that she meted out to the office of the Chief Secretary and by extension to Tobagonians, in the long run. In fact, it should have started before, in the first week when the Prime Minister announced that she didn't need CARICOM and that she was siding with the US. The IDA was the first to come out and say that Tobago is a space of peace and neutrality, and that is where we need to stand. We sent out messages that the Chief Secretary ought to make a statement. He did not make a statement until weeks later. And then he said, we are siding with the Prime Minister. And then another week later, days later, he said, oh, we are in peace and neutrality. And I think he's lost in all of this. It seems like he does not have any powers at all. He gave up all of his powers when this new administration came into being. And therefore, he's no longer defending Tobago. He's no longer a defender of the people of Tobago.
How would I have responded differently? Simply by taking Tobago first. As Chief Secretary of Tobago, you have to put of Tobago first, beyond your political convenience, beyond your political relationships. And I would have made hell on earth had I been Chief Secretary regarding this matter. And the same posture that I've taken as political leader of the PNM, saying to the Prime Minister, we do not want that radar here. It's affecting our tourism. It's placing our lives in danger. In fact, I've spoken to many tourism stakeholders, hoteliers, owners of villas and Airbnbs. I myself, owner of an Airbnb property, I can tell you that confirmed bookings from December, January, even up to February, people are cancelling left, right, and center. And the number one concern is really whether Tobago remains a safe and peaceful place. And not just Tobago, but the region by extension. And therefore, we have to put Tobago first. And I just want to remind the people of Tobago that I have a track record as Chief Secretary for putting Tobagonians first, even when the PNM was in the central government. And I want to remind you all that once upon a time during the COVID pandemic, the Ministry of National Security established a prison, a COVID prison in the community of Glen Road. And the persons in that community, I met with them virtually, of course, during that period. And they all were saying, we don't want that prison in our community. There was no consultations. We don't agree with it. And I picked up the phone immediately after that. I said to the Minister of National Security at the time, PNM Stuart Young, that we don't want that prison in Glen Road. The community does not want it. I am in support of the community, and I'm going to issue a press release that we spoke and we agreed that the prison will be removed. So whether it's a PNM central government, whether it's a UNC central government, Ansel Dennis will Tobago and Tobagonians first, always.
Thank you. Thank you. We are still conversing with our candidates' decisions with the chief. And we're going to take a break. We continue our conversations. Stay tuned.
To vote is simple. The Elections and Boundaries Commission advises that before election day, you should receive your poll card in the mail. Open it to find the address of your station. Keep the poll card safe and take it with you on election. If you did not receive your poll card in the mail, you can still vote. A poll card will be prepared for you at your polling center. You can also visit the EBC's website at www.ebctt.com or call the hotline at 785-8206 or 75-8211 to find your polling station. On election day, you should check the list posted outside your polling station for your name and number. Where there are several polling stations on the same compound, an information officer will direct you to your polling station. Polling agents who act on behalf of candidates are there to witness the process. If your name is on the list of electors and you have a valid ID card, you join the green line. All other persons, including physically incapacitated, blind or visually impaired persons, should join the red line. You are required to sign your poll card in front of the poll clerk. The deputy presiding officer examines your hands and fingers. If there is no evidence of electoral ink stains, you're issued a ballot paper. The deputy presiding officer also demonstrates how to mark and fold a ballot paper using the guidance ballot and how to vote with the X stamp. The ballot paper is folded to display the initials of the deputy presiding officer and the polling station number. A blind, visually impaired or physically incapacitated person is allowed to vote with the assistance of a companion. In the privacy of the voting booth, you vote by placing an X at the right of your candidate's symbol. If you make a mark other than an X, your ballot will be rejected and not counted. Fold your ballot paper as you were previously shown by the deputy presiding officer and proceed to the officer in charge of the ballot box. Display your folded ballot paper with the initials of the deputy presiding officer and polling station number. You will then be required to dip your finger in the electoral ink before you are allowed to place your ballot paper in the ballot box. If you refuse to dip your finger in the electoral ink, you will not be allowed to vote. When you've finished with this process, wipe off the excess ink. Any problem you encounter in the polling station should be brought to the attention of the presiding officer. To vote is your right. Exercise it. A message from the Elections and Boundaries Commission, your partners in democracy.
Welcome to Tobago Glass Supplies Limited, where innovation meets excellence and service reigns supreme. Our commitment is simple: to provide high-quality, innovative aluminum, vinyl and glass solutions for both commercial and residential spaces. At TGSL, we don't just meet needs, we exceed expectations. Our range includes the finest aluminum cladding options, setting new standards in durability and style. Driven by our passion to elevate, we aim to be the leading supplier in the Caribbean market while retaining our identity as a family-owned business. Because at Tobago Glass Supplies Limited, it's not just about products. It's about relationships, it's about you. Innovation, quality, service. That's Tobago Glass Supplies Limited.
It's a different type of thing down there. And we party till we drop down there. With a lot of pretty girls down there. Down in Tobago.
When the game is on, you don't want to miss the best moments. With AMPLIA TV, you can enjoy our ultimate sports package and watch your favorite games on the go. Stay connected and informed with sports news, scores and stats with AMPLIA's fastest internet speeds. Up to 1 gigabyte fiber internet, you can stream riveting football action, cricket, NBA games and much more. With AMPLIA, it's game on. Visit amplia.co.tt or call 800-4663. AMPLIA. Do more, live more.
Coconut's Cafe, the buffet restaurant that specializes in all your tasty local dishes for breakfast and for lunch. Breakfast includes coconut bake and sada roti served with chokers, buljoil and sausages in tomato sauce. Not forgetting beef and cheese pies, shepherd's pie, macaroni pie and rice in various styles. Meat served in a variety of flavors, garden salads and pasta salads. All this accompanied by fruit juices, coconut water, your choice of a great combination to appease your taste buds. So call us today to order, as we are here to accommodate your busy schedules or if you are having a cooking day off.
Viewers, welcome back to Conversations with the Chief. Now, to those of you now tuning in, this is a conversation with two of the candidates for Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, which the Tobago electorate will decide in the THA elections come January 12, 2026. This is just a gentle reminder that neither the questions nor the responses are those of CivilNet nor its supporters, and all three political party leaders contesting 8+ districts were invited to this conversation. As we continue on tonight, Tobago's youth talent is untapped. What system will you build to turn sports into opportunity and pride? Mr. Dennis, we'll start with you.
Well, we have a number of sporting facilities that are currently being poorly maintained. That is something we have to fix immediately. Too many young persons are complaining about lack of access to our sporting facilities, whether it be playing fields, courts, etc. They are in a deplorable state, and we have to treat with maintenance of those facilities. The next PNM-THA will explore the possibility of having sporting facilities managed at the level of the communities and all community facilities by extension. And you'll find that as part of our plans. So, for example, we will look at the possibility of having maybe Phoenix FC in partnership with the Canaan Bonaccord Cricket Club managing the recreation grounds at Canaan. In addition to that, we plan to develop a number of other sporting facilities of international standards. We are in dire need of an international cricket stadium in Tobago. We need to complete the indoor sporting complex, and we need to also establish a home for motorsports on the island, and all of these are part of our plans. We have to also engage in partnerships with local clubs and international sporting bodies and clubs and so on to ensure that we can have talent here in Tobago being pursued by those international clubs. It's about time we have another Dwight York in Tobago, and I don't think that we are doing enough to cause those international clubs and so on to discover Tobago's talent. Tobago has a lot of talent in athletics, in football, in cricket, but we need to do more to ensure that they are visible across the world, and so that they can be able to pursue those opportunities and their dreams and sport as a real career path.
Dr. Angus?
So, our focus is really on people and people development, because that is where you feel the real development, and not just in a lot of infrastructure. And so we are going to begin in the education system, where you have education reform, where you have 2 tracks, those who learn with their eyes and ears and those who learn with their hands, and sports. And that takes into consideration the creative sector and the sporting arena as career pathways. Right now they're treated as hobbies, and we want to ensure that they're treated as career pathways. And therefore we would also collaborate with the sporting clubs, because right now they're taking monies out of their pockets to help these children. And it says to me, we are not treating sports as a career when clubs have to do that. Even in the creative sector, you have clubs and NGOs. Again, they have to take monies out of their pockets to help, or fundraiser. We're saying if we are understanding that at the top of the wages list, you have sports and the creative sector as high income wage earners, then we would really focus on putting these children through sports as a career. When they leave school, they will have the opportunity of having paid apprenticeships wherever they go, in the first 3 years of leaving school, whether it is in the creative sector or the sporting arena. But additionally, we will have what we call our STAR program, which is Scouting, Talent, Achievements and Recognition. And that is going to be, we're going to host a month-long festival of scouts who come into the island to look at our young people and see who they can take up, whether to go to clubs, whether to go into universities, or whether they are going to, use their talent to go into other parts of the creative sector. Now that also benefits the tourism sector, because if you have them coming in for a month to do training and to do different things and scouting, then you see where the ecosystem works for everyone in that regard.
Thank you. Thank you. Violent crime is rising. What specific strategies will you implement to make Tobago safer? Mr. Dennis?
Well, as I said before, we will establish a division that will have responsibility for Tobago's security. And again, security and crime prevention really goes beyond policing. Policing is really about detecting crime. So we have to ensure that at the level of the communities, we introduce mediation programs that will teach people to resolve their differences without violence, without resorting to violence. We have to ensure as well that we treat with the unemployment crisis on the island, and that is where we talk about creating 7,000 jobs on the island to ensure that we take away that likelihood of persons unemployed and suffering and who may want to consider, unfortunately, taking what somebody else has to fulfill that desire to have as well. We have to ensure that we create opportunities for our young people to engage in alternative activities, sports, creativity, music, the performing arts, and so on at the level of the communities. In addition to that, we will establish a community guardians program where we will train young people to take care of the elderly within the community and to provide a neighborhood watch kind of system within the communities to ensure that we are looking out for each other at the level of every single community across Tobago. So those are some of the initiatives that we will implement to ensure that Tobago is a safer space.
Thank you. Dr. Angus?
Criminals are not born. They are products of an environment in which they grew. And therefore, when we give power to the communities along with the resources, they are the best persons to follow children through. They will now have the resources where it takes a village to raise a child, and they can follow that child all the way through. We'll also want to ensure that when the best way to capture our young people before they go to the blocks and before they get into crime is by, as soon as they come out of school, again, to give them paid apprenticeships, taking the school into the workplace and giving them jobs in the private sector for 3 years. After the 3 years, they go on to higher learning, whether it is a technology institute or university training. After those 7 years, you have a productive citizen. You have someone who can think, can analyze, can reason, and will not get into crime as much, so to speak. So we're really looking at the development of the child all the way through into adulthood and giving them the best chance at getting out there. So they don't have to come out and have to wonder where is their job when they come out of school. They will already have a job straight out, 3 years and then and the 4 years. And people ask us why the private sector? Because we are trying to grow owners. Okay, jobs, in my world, we call that just over broke. And while jobs are good, we need to ensure that our people know that they could get better wages, that they could be owners. And when you get that certification, that is when you'll be able to get better jobs. And we want to ensure that that is the way that they have the best chance to develop. And when we begin doing things like that, you're going to naturally see that crime becomes, something that is contained, and I spoke about before actually putting those over 30 into apprenticeship programs to retool them so that they can have better jobs in terms of going forward.
Should Tobago have the same tertiary education opportunities as Trinidad? If yes, how will you deliver them? Mr. Dennis.
Yes, definitely. Tobagonians should have meaningful opportunities for tertiary education, whether they study in Trinidad or across the world. And that is why previous PNM administrations established DATAS as an additional opportunity apart from GATE, because we want to ensure that no Tobagonian is denied the opportunity to pursue tertiary education. You will find, as part of our big deal, the establishment of a University of Tobago, and we don't believe in building out a whole new infrastructure to facilitate that, but we believe that there are existing institutions, existing schools on the island that can be built out and become part of that overarching University of Tobago. For example, the Kendall Farm School, the Tobago Performing Arts Academy. We can establish, or we will establish, a Buku School of Marine Sciences, and the existing THTI for hospitality and training in the tourism sector as well will be a part of that. And of course, we expect that the average Tobagonian who wants to pursue tertiary education may not have the opportunity to stay in Tobago, because there are some courses of study, let's be quite frank, that you will have to go outside of Tobago and perhaps even outside of Trinidad and Tobago. But we want to ensure that we establish that university not just for Tobagonians, but we expect that persons will come from Trinidad and across the world to be trained as part of our tertiary education arrangements. And of course, that will help to benefit and boost our tourism sector. And let me just say as well that we plan to bolster the efforts of DATAS to provide even more funding to ensure that more Tobagonians are funded through universities in Trinidad and across the world.
Thank you. Dr. Angus?
In order to compete globally, we have to ensure that at least 43% of our workforce is university trained. And that is how Singapore got their development. And so that is going to be our target. 43% of the workforce has to be university trained. And therefore, we will ensure that that is our focus and put every effort into ensuring that all of the supporting systems for making that happen will be in place. So our DATAS program, we will ensure that all age groups, whether you're going to Trinidad to further your studies, that we will provide the transportation for you to get there, to complete your studies, because it's important for us for you to become certified. Additionally, we're going to ensure that our universities are not treated like social programs where we don't know where the money is coming from to create sustainability out of them. And so the Tobago International University, I spoke about the soil, but additionally, we have to look at the talents on our island. PAN is a great talent for us, and therefore looking to partner with music industry like Berkeley School of Music, and they bring their international program here. And therefore, our people in Tobago are exposed to an international certification. But of course, a name like Berkeley is going to attract persons from across the world who can no longer get a visa to go to United States. And therefore, they will be attracted to come here and study. That brings in the revenue that helps us to sustain our other programs that we have ongoing. And that is how we intend to make sure that our students get the best quality of our schooling, and that they can afford, with our support, to get the schooling of the best, and that we can actually continue with that as a sustainable way forward by including international persons to come in and also having an international faculty mixed with a local faculty, bringing up the standard of who we are in terms of our teaching abilities on the island, and being able to sustain that going forward.
Thank you. Well, we've come to the final question for you, lady and gentlemen. Think of this as a job interview. The electorate is the employer. Why should you get the job? Mr. Dennis.
Well, again, a wealth of experience, youthful, vibrant, committed to the people of Tobago, backed by a political party with a long, proud track record of development across Trinidad and Tobago, especially here in Tobago over the 21 years that we had the opportunity to govern this island. And of course, my opponent here was a part of that legacy. In addition to that, I am born to lead, born to serve. Service has always been a part of my life, and I have a bold new vision for this island. And we in the PNM, as a political party, are committed to putting Tobago first again. And I like to say that people should be judged by their track record. And Tobagonians, you saw me as your chief secretary for a short stint. It was only 19 months, but I had the opportunity and the enviable task of leading this island through a pandemic. It was a difficult period, but you saw us prioritize the agriculture sector. You saw us energize that sector. You saw me visiting farmers across the island, whether it was a white boots or a black boots. You saw me meeting with the young farmers, getting an understanding of the sector and an understanding of their needs. And then you saw us take action to start the Farmland Development Program to include more agricultural opportunities through the Business Development Unit. You saw us take actions in the tourism sector to ensure that the marine park was safer. We brought to the Tobago House of Assembly legislature a bill for the first time in years to treat with the issue of management and safety and regulation of the Boko Marine Park. People of Tobago, I have what it takes to lead this island and to lead us far better than we are being currently led. So join me and the PNM team on January the 12th to ensure that we put Tobago first again.
Thank you. Dr. Angus?
The Innovative Democratic Alliance brings a new vision to Tobago, because after decades of top-down governance, we have seen evidence of the economic decline continually over the last 25 years. So you had 21 years of stagnation and then a further 4 years of a sliding decline of the economy. And even our education system has tied to that. The level of under-education has certainly increased. And we have to ask ourselves, are we going to continue with the same approach time and time again? One color party, the next color party. Are we going to continue with that same approach and expect to get a different result? And that is why the IDA is coming forward to say, let us reset Tobago. Let us reset the game. Let us empower the people in communities. Let us liberate them, because it is in liberating the communities and empowering them with structures set up and their monies that Tobago will begin to grow. It has never been done, and we continue to recycle the same old ideas of how governance must happen and not give the people their control. You know, with this, the political arena that we are in, if we don't empower the people, they will not have the strength to walk with us and to stand up with us against radar and those other things. we have to empower them and strengthen them to that regard. We cannot continue to hide our heads in the sand and think that the geopolitics is not going to affect us. And the only way that we are going to survive that is to empower the people. We talk about track record as a track record. For track records, I was the chairman of the Tobago Regional Health Authority, and any of the employees would tell you it's the best time that the medical world made progress. The instituting of the Tobago incentive allowance to other allied health and nurses other than the doctors and nurses. As Secretary of Community Development and Culture, the Calypso and the creative sector could tell you the work that I would have done there. As presiding officer, many of the programs that I would have done, they still have them running because they were such good programs. And so when we talk about track record, I have one that is second to none. In fact, persons say I'm the most experienced politician on the island, and also the fact that I don't have any scandals following my name from those times in office. And that is what we want going forward right now. Someone with a clean slate, a new vision that can truly take Tobago into a path of prosperity, self-determination, economic resilience, and empowerment of our people.
Thank you. Thank you. We head over to Ayodele.
And that brings us to the end of the Tobago Silvernet conversation with the Chief THA 2026. And in typical Tobago Silvernet fashion, we give thanks. So we give thanks to the candidates, Mr. Ansel K. Dennis, the political leader of the People National Movement, and Mrs. Denise Soyafat Angus, the political leader of the Innovative Democratic Alliance, who took the time out of their busy campaign schedules tonight and participated in the Tobago Silvernet conversation with the Chiefs. We give thanks to our gracious moderator, Mrs. Ria Richardson George, who conducted the conversations with skills and professionalism. We give thanks to William Nana and the staff of Tobago Updates Television, who assisted us with the production and served as broadcasters of this event. We applaud them for their part to assist grassroots non-profit organizations like ours to bring helpful content to the Tobago social environment. We give thanks to Ms. Chanel Felix for designing the outstanding flyer that so many of you have shared. We give thanks to the viewing audience for tuning in and sharing this event, and we hope that they are better able to make an informed decision on January 12th. We give thanks to the following supporters to this event who assisted in planning and other logistics, such as Nat Johnson Multimedia, Tobago Division of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Knights Analytics, Tobago Youth Council, and LRT's Media. This was a production of Tobago Silvernet, a non-partisan, non-profit organization of civil society of organizations and non-politically exposed persons who all share and focus on growing Tobago in all areas of people activity. Tobago Silvernet extends an invitation to all persons and organizations interested in aligning their voices. Please visit us on our website at www.tobagosilvernet.org for further info and or to join. It is our hope that this becomes the norm in Trinidad and Tobago. We are really happy that you agreed to be here. From the Tobago Silvernet team, we thank you.